If you've ever had a horse that tends to rush, get too quick, lean in through the turns, or drop their shoulder through turns, then today I'd like to share a few exercises and a specific sequence that you can do that will really help both you as a rider and your skills to help this horse, as well as helping the horse have a better balance as well. I'm Callie, and I'm here today with Allie and with Soldier. And Soldier is new here, and he does have some of these problems. So this is going to be perfect to work through the exercises with him. And the exercises that I'm going to be sharing are from Stay in the Saddle, 67 exercises for horse and rider. And we're going to go through kind of a case study of how to combine the different ideas from this resource in the sections that are outlined in here. We're going to start with planning this ride that we're going to do a warm-up together for Allie, and then we're going to do a rider skill building exercise for Allie to have the rider in the right position and thinking about the skills needed to help the horse as we go into an exercise then for Soldier to help him. So we're going to start with a warm-up exercise. This warm-up I really love for just getting loose, getting limber, and really kind of finding your center just on the ground. And I find it's really helpful a lot of times with the horses that tend to rush or tend to lean. It's easy when we're riding to brace against them, to want to get tight or start to pull and kind of get in that tug-of-war feeling. So this is a really good warm-up, I find, to just set up to make sure that we're in the best place when we go to ride to help these kind of horses, and today to help Soldier. So we're going to do something called body circles, and do it the best you can holding on to him. He seems like he's pretty content to stand there. For a lot of these warm-ups, if you have a horse that tends to, if he's getting more anxious as soon as you're out here, he's moving around, do the warm-up maybe before you tack up or before you go out to the arena, or even have someone else hold your horse as you do your warm-up exercise. But I think today Soldier will be content to let us do this with him hanging out. All right, so we're going to start with just some arm circles forward. And as you're doing these, set up however you need to. As you're doing these, think about the motion in your shoulder. You don't have to go to like your full range of motion in any of these movements. It's much more of just an awareness thing and getting the body moving. So now just switch, take a few circles back. There's also no set number of, having to do a certain number of circles. Do as many as feel good. And if going one direction or one body part feels better, you can spend a little longer on that. Okay, now we're going to take your hands out. And we're going to do wrist circles. So just make little circles with your wrists, going one direction, and then we'll just switch, go the other direction. As you're doing these movements, notice if there's anywhere in your body that is feels a little crunchy or a little stiff, and it could be really nice to kind of work through that. Okay, go ahead and let that go. All right, now we're just going to do a neck circle, and we're not going to go all the way around. You're just going to roll forward, think ear towards shoulder on one side, and then ear towards shoulder on the other side. For this, I like to make sure that I'm standing square over both feet. Just do a few of these. Okay, now we're going to go and we're going to start kind of moving down the body. So we're going to do hips next. So I like to do hands on my hips and then start one direction, either one, and just do a big hip circle. So as you're doing the hip circles, think about keeping your knees a little bit bent. And notice if you can feel the movement kind of all the way around the circle and in your upper body. So we're just going to do a few this direction and then go ahead and change and do the other direction. Okay, now we're going to go down and do knees. So a little more bend in your knees. You can put your hands on your knees and then just make a circle one direction. These circles can be big or small, whatever feels good to you. Keep your ankles soft. You can pick up your feet, move your feet a little bit as you do this. You don't have to keep them planted. And then we're going to switch directions, other way. I find these type of exercises, this one in particular, okay, I can let that go. is really good for even just kind of feeling your body and relaxing a little bit. Sometimes when we get on the horses that tend to rush or get a little quick or be more anxious, we could almost start to build up that anxiety before going out and riding. So this is a really good way before you ride to just make sure you're in a settled place. All right, so now we're going to take one foot, just kind of go up on your toe. We're going to roll out the ankle. So just a few times one direction, switch. And then we'll go to the other side, same thing. Okay. All right, so that was going through the body circles. How do you feel after the little quick warm-up?
Good, I think, and then I can kind of feel where I was a little tight, like the hip circles. I can feel like, oh, I'm tight on this side, so just kind of go deeper into it.
Awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and mount up, and then we're going to do a rider exercise, and then we'll do an exercise for Soldier here. What we're going to do for the next two exercises is practice them separately and together. So we're going to begin by doing the rider exercise of holding the crop, or ride with the crop. So when I give this to Allie, she's going to put this under her thumbs just like this. And why this is really good for this particular issue, actually, of a horse that rushes, is a lot of times when horses tend to drift or they tend to rush, we as the rider can get pulled into fighting against them, where we're trying to pull them back onto the track, or we're trying to pull them to slow down, and our hands kind of start to get a little all over the place. So this is going to connect the hands together and help you as the rider when you work on this, and you today, to think about using the hands more together and using them more laterally. So we're steering onto figures, and we're using the body instead of just starting to pull to try to get the horse to go where we need to go and to help them develop a better balance. And I'll show you the horse exercise in just a moment. So I'm going to give you the crop under your thumbs. Good. And you want to just position it that it's about hip width apart with your hands on either side. Perfect. And then go ahead and walk off and just do some different little figures to get used to it. So you can do some circles, figure 8. So what you can notice as Allie rides with the stick between her hands is that as she turns, she's going to turn a little bit more using her hips. So when we don't have one hand to easily pull back, when the stick keeps them more together, it really helps us to think about riding more with using the hips. And even here where he's getting a little bit quick and he's wanting to rush, see how she kept her hands there, she closed her fingers, and it didn't turn into trying to pull back or her hands going up really high or dropping down. They just stayed nice and still. She closed her fingers, she got more stable through her back, and he came right back down to the walk. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to take the crop again, and she's going to practice the second exercise before we combine them. So now this is the exercise that is actually beneficial for both, but is really going to help here with Soldier. So next up, we're going to ride a square. And we set up these cones so that there's visual markers. And what I'm going to have you do with them is basically just ride the square. So you do a square turn at each one of the cones right to the outside, and then just ride nice and straight to the next one. And I can take this. And as you ride it, you can imagine that you still had the stick there between your hands. So you can see already here his tendency to be a little green, get a little bit crooked. And she's having to use her outside aids and think about using her hands laterally and actually that outside rein to stabilize him as he comes around the turn. Nice. And see how his shoulders and his front end just kind of look like they swing around the turn. That's really what we're looking for here riding the square. Good. Okay, and then I'm going to give you the crop back. So now we're combining the exercises of, we did the one for the rider skill, we did one for the horse, and now we're going to do them together. And of course, when you're practicing this on your own, you'll spend more time in each one. We're just going through them quickly here to give you a demonstration. Okay. So now the crop there is going to really keep her hands together. And you can see he already walked off straighter through that stretch. And then he got a little confused where the code was and wanted to break a little bit too much. It's no problem. There he started to drift a little to the inside, and you can see she closed her fingers. Same thing here. He wants to get a little bit quick and bracy. Yep. Good. And notice there how she just waited. So she half hauled it, she just waited until he came back, didn't continue to pull. So he was able to have the time to figure it out, and having the crop there going through these exercises helped to just reinforce that idea of keeping the hands together, staying stable, and waiting. Nice and straight there. Again, see how his shoulders kind of swung through the turn. That's really what we're looking for, is the benefit of this exercise for the horse is helping them stay more straight and learn to turn instead of just getting wiggly through their whole body, by staying more stable through their body and taking that reach out with the front legs to go around the turn. All right, really nice. Thank you for demonstrating that. And did you feel a difference either for yourself or with him in just these short little repetitions of the exercises?
Like when I have this, I had to be more clear and like that I was really like preparing him with my whole body, not just like saying, hey, we're turning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
Nice, great job. Thank you very much for demonstrating.
Yeah.
So to recap what we did in this session, we started with a warm-up exercise for Allie, and then we did a rider skill building exercise of riding with the crop for better steering and more connected body posture and movement. And then we went to a horse exercise for Soldier of riding the square to get him more balanced and less wiggly through his body. And then we put the last two together. And then we actually ended with, it was really quick here, but we did a little reflection when I asked you what you felt was different. And that reflection part is really important, because when you think about just taking a few moments to remember your ride, what went well and what you can do next time, it'll set you up for success, and it'll really help to concrete that learning that you got during the lesson. So we have many exercises like this that you can choose from to create your ride in Stay in the Saddle. There's actually 67 specific exercises in these different categories, and you can combine them just like we did here in this session. So there's a link down below for this book where you can get all of the information, the details. The book also comes with videos so that you can see a demonstration of every exercise, get the common troubleshooting, and advice for riding it well. As always, enjoy the ride. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.